Ian.
Nice to have you with us. So just on that point, Rishi Sunak defending national insurance rises. I mean, lots of Conservatives I'm speaking to, whether they're voters or politicians over the last few weeks, seem to think this is a very unconservative thing to do, quite aside from the breaking of a manifesto pledge. How do you sit with this one?
I mean, I have supported it. I voted for it. I actually agree with Rishi when he says we can't afford to just stand on ideology, straightforward ideology. We don't raise taxes. What we have to do is look pragmatically at the situation we find ourselves in. And the COVID pandemic has cost over 400 billion of extra spending on protecting lives and livelihoods. And the choices are you grow the economy, certainly, you tax people more, or you borrow more. And if you borrow more, that lands on the shoulders of the next generation, and that's not fair. So actually I support this short-term, I hope, and limited increase in taxes.
One of the messages, I think, Andrea Leadsom, that is coming through, certainly from our listeners this afternoon, is that, and a lot of Red Wall callers calling in, sensing that the Conservative Party is no longer very conservative. What do you make of that?
No, I don't agree at all. You know, Conservatives, the clue is in the title. We conserve, we look after what's good, we look after the environment, we protect people, but at the same time we are always pro jobs and opportunity and growth in our economy that creates wealth for everybody. We're outward looking, we want to be trading with the world, and you know that is what this government is doing. And as we've left the European Union, it's not about bringing in our wings, it's about spreading our wings and actually doing more trade around the world, actually promoting global free trade, human rights, the rule of law, and that we're seeing in huge quantities now with this outward-looking government, and that's fantastic.
Well, you say that, but I was sorry to interject, but you know there is that sense that many of our callers say, well, what about things like immigration in the Channel? You've got protesters blocking the M25, the Blackwall Tunnel, and the police leave them alone. What has happened to the party of law and order? What has happened to the party that was going to sort out immigration? What has happened to the party that was going to keep taxes low? They've gone all green on us. You're obsessed with green issues at the expense of everything else.
No, not at all. No,
But you even said it in your first answer to me. You even mentioned the environment. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, Andrea. But I mean, it's interesting that it was first out the hatches when you responded to me.
Yeah, but I think the critical point here is that we are at we're beyond the beginning of a new industrial revolution. The fact that it is a green industrial revolution is extraordinary, and the UK is at the forefront of it. So actually, this sort of decarbonisation, protecting the environment, is going to create masses of apprenticeships, of new skills for those working in industrial centres in the north of England. It's going to create new jobs for people working in the oil and gas sector. It's going to actually spread economic growth, jobs and prosperity right across the UK, but not just that, but right across the world, because the UK hosting COP26, as we're going to be doing, is going to be exporting UK science, innovation, technology, and even UK manufacturing overseas as we take part in this new amazing industrial revolution. So it's not green or conservative. It is actually at the heart of conservative policy, is to promote this new industrial revolution.
Well, you say that, but the well-known global philosopher Greta Thunberg said, blur, blur, blur.
Yes, well she might. I certainly do not think it's blah 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 at all. And if you look at the statistics, the UK is absolutely leading global efforts to decarbonise at home, and in hosting COP26 we have a real chance to influence the world's determination to reach those climate change goals. But just to be absolutely clear again for your listeners, this isn't about, decarbonising at great cost to our own wealth and jobs and so on. It's actually a win-win. The green economy, in my opinion, will create more jobs spread right across the United Kingdom than we currently have in financial services, which has always been supposedly the jewel in the crown for the UK. So this is a huge jobs and growth opportunity. It's not just about decarbonisation.
I mean, we might be going green because nobody can put petrol in their tanks in some parts of the country. I mean, what's your opinion on that? I mean, you were business secretary. That would have been there would have been a crossover in the Venn diagram there of your brief. I mean, this seems extraordinary that we can't get tankers to, regardless of why we can't get the tankers there, but we can't fill up our cars. And now there's rumours that we're going to run out of turkeys. I'm sure there's a few there in Manchester.
Well, yeah, I would not be a fan of running out of turkeys. I'm definitely like my Christmas dinner. But no, I mean, it is a very serious point. We've had some real supply issues, and actually there is a global shortage of HGV drivers. You know, people sort of like to say, well, it's a UK issue. It's not, it's a global issue. And what it means is that we all, in each of our economies, we need to be focusing on better terms and conditions for HGV drivers. That is happening. The government's making it much easier to take your HGV driving test so that you can much more quickly apply for one of those jobs in those sectors. But employers need to make sure that the conditions are suitable. You know, you've got to not have sort of skanky roadside places to park up with no proper loos, etc. You've got to actually improve the terms and conditions, and that's actually what I think we are seeing in our economy now, with wage rises growing at over 8% in the last quarter. That is fantastic news for workers, and we're actually seeing that transformation. Why? Because businesses, as we come out of that COVID pandemic lockdown, are starting to see demand growing. They're wanting to employ people again. People are finding jobs at better pay. This is great news. And yes, there are short-term supply issues, as there are for other countries all around the world. But my expectation and hope is that is just the market adjusting itself, and we will actually see things start to really improve, and really importantly, is people seeing better income in their pockets.
Just two final points, Andrea Leadsom. I don't know how well your own house is insulated. No idea what your lagging is like in South Northamptonshire. However, of course, there's a group of protesters that think we've all got a lot of work to do in this respect. What do you make of people blocking bridges and tunnels and stopping people from getting from A to B?
I'm completely disgusted by it. I'm absolutely sick of it. And as business secretary, I took on Extinction Rebellion, who were likewise gluing themselves to trains, stopping people going about their business.
Yeah.
It's
electric trains, as I remember, which is curious.
Yeah, totally. I mean, all they're doing is making lives a misery for other people. There's an appropriate way to demonstrate and protest, and this is not it. They should clear off the streets and let people get on with their daily work.
And what are you making of your leader at the moment? I mean, he's obviously the man under the spotlight. What is the defining number one thing on the list of areas of life that sets Boris Johnson apart? What has Boris Johnson got that can give us faith that the next couple of years won't be as bad as the last two?
I mean, he is a great optimist. He's a great communicator. He really believes in a greater future ahead of us. He's totally committed to this idea of levelling up, which is really reflecting the fact that there are brains and talent and aspiration right across our country, and yet the opportunities haven't been equal for everybody, and he's determined to put that right, which is a fabulous thing to be targeting, I believe.
What's his one standout quality there?
It's a really difficult question, isn't it? I suppose it would be that he is a very good communicator. I think he gets a message across to people that really talks to all of our natural enthusiasm and optimism and hopes for the future. So I think that is a great thing in a leader.
Andrea Leadsom, thank you. Former business secretary, prominent Brexit campaigner